Welcome, everyone. Today, we're talking with an old-time friend, a good guy, all around, good fellow from the UK. So we have Micheal Kirsop with me today, and we're going to be talking a little bit about his journey, what has brought him through his weight loss, and some key components that we're going to really talk about today is the snacking, where I first met Micheal in our support groups when I was working with the fasting method as a coach. And I think I coined him as the snack king, meaning he has been the king of no snacking. So with that, I'll hand it over to Micheal, and we'll kind of just go back and forth and talk a little bit about your journey, Micheal. And maybe we'll just start with that, where you began in your weight loss journey. So welcome.
Good evening, or well, it's evening for me. I believe it's afternoon for you. But yes, so how this all started for me, I shall do this in pounds, but I was round about the 363 pounds. That was the heaviest that I'd actually seen on my scales. But I do believe, looking at pictures previous to that, and that I was probably heavier at some points. And I've done like what everybody had done. I tried every diet you could sort of imagine, and we all just sort of like struggle with it. And like, you know, we're getting all this advice: oh, move more, eat less, blah, and all that stuff. And I was just continuing along. And on Facebook, a friend of mine put lots of different sort of stuff on there about sort of like what we was eating and stuff. But the one thing that really resonated with me, he put the only people that benefit from snacks is the people that sell you them. So I actually then decided, because he was in a business networking group that, you know, we used to meet up every now and then, but I didn't know sort of nothing else sort of about him. So eventually I messaged him and said, tell me a little bit more about this. And then he put me on to, he was carnivore, so he put me on to, he sent me a book about carnivore to read, and Micheal Peterson. So he sent that through and said, look at these. And then from that, I found Dr. Paul Mason, who is my absolute hero when it comes to this way of life. And he said in one of his things that are quite scientific about if you got all these little skin tags and you've got these skin tags, you go to your GP and you'll go, I've got these skin tags. Oh yeah, that's because you're getting old. Right. And he said these words: they are a sign that you are insulin resistant. And that was it. Boom. I jumped down that rabbit hole. And that is when I started my low carb journey. So that led me, and then I just literally consumed everything that I could. I went on to a clean keto site here in the UK on Facebook, and that's when Dr. Fung popped up, and that's when the fasting come into it. But that is where my no snacking journey sort of like really started.
Yeah. I think it's really interesting that although your consciousness of just being in the weight that you were, the first thing, or maybe one of the things that stuck out to you was, wait a minute, somebody's making a lot of money off of my bad habits. And that didn't sit right with you. So from there, really, what was the first steps that you took to start improving your health?
Well, so I was actually in lockdown with my mother because she had a bad back. So I had to move out of my place, move in with her. And this is really what started a lot of it, because I couldn't eat as much as I would eat at home, like, because she'd be going, "You only had your tea half an hour ago. Why are you eating again?" So I've done some secret eating when she went to bed, like, which she confessed to me afterwards that she could hear the ruffers and everything. But my weight was so severe, like, you know, where I was morbidly obese, nobody could say anything because I would go off on one. So it just got to that point. No, so even though my family was concerned, nobody would say anything because it would end up in an argument, you know, or me being short with someone. And so yeah, once I got into the low carb thing and realised that that is the key for and I've since learned for a good 80-90% of the population, because there is nothing that anybody could say to somebody that's going to work for the whole population, but easily 90 odd percent would benefit from being low carb, and they just make so much money out of us, big food.
Yeah.
And that was it. And then soon as so how my actual low carb journey started was, I think Dr. Mason said, like, something below 150 grams, you're starting to move into low carb. So 1 week, bang, I was like, I was at my mum's, like I said, I still cook you whatever you want, but I'm going low carb from now. So I just gradually, I went 150 1 week, then the next week 130, then 120, bang bang, all the way down into at the time into the keto zone, which I don't know whether we were ever in a group when I started. I even though I use it on my Instagram thing because it was a thing about engaging more, I don't like the word keto because that has now been monetized as well.
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
so there's so many people just looking for keto stuff, and some of those keto products are absolute rubbish. Like,
Yeah, exactly. I always tell our
yeah,
kids, you know, when we go shopping, they they know we're out of the outside aisle shoppers. We do the produce. We go to the butcher for meat, and we're seldom up and down those aisles. And every once in a while, they'll see something and they'll take that, you know, it off the shelf and start to look at it. And they'll look at it and then they'll put it back. And I'll ask them, "Why are you putting that back?" And they said, "Yeah, you wouldn't want it, Mom. It has, you know, XYZ carbs and this much sugar, and but
yeah,
it says keto on it." And so they're onto it as well. But you're right, there is a whole industry behind processed food of every kind, and that really is something that the low carb family helps to identify. We really want people to rely on real foods and
yeah,
food in their natural state. You brought up something that made me laugh about, you know, your mom being an older woman, and that whole mindset of that generation. They're not snackers. They don't eat outside of mealtime. And so what kind of was her reaction when you said, "I'm going to eat this other way"? And you know, what did she think of that?
yeah. Well, originally, because she knows that I'm quite an extreme person, she said, "Don't go mad, don't go mad, don't get, you know, too sort of into it." But yeah, you know, the problem is that even people of my mum's generation now, they've been bombarded as well, so they do tend to snack. But you do tend to find the people that have got the older people, especially, because they have still stuck to those 3 meals a day, which we all used to do before, sort of like the late 70s, early 80s. And it all just made so much sense in my head when I got down the rabbit hole. You know, it was like, why? It's just there. It just makes so much sense. We have just been absolutely I call it hoodwinked.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
we have all been hoodwinked, and it is all to do, and it's all to do with money, and they don't care about your health. And
yeah,
you know, I've got nothing against anybody making money, but when it's making a all generations sick, really, and the
yeah,
fact that they are just that going on to the snacking, there's a snack for everything. You know, they even make breakfasts, so they're snack handy. You know, so you can get this. You don't even have to go through the process of making real porridge, because you can buy it and you
yeah,
can tip water
exactly,
onto it.
exactly.
You know, everything has been, and they're making it out that it's going to be, you know, sort of beneficial to you, but it is just
Yeah.
an absolute, yeah, well,
Maybe talking about a little bit about sugar, and a lot of people do have sugar addiction, and just, not just um, cravings for sugar, but driven by sugar. When you started to go through the process of eliminating processed food, or snacking rather, and that sugar maybe was part of it, what kind of relationship did you have with sugar? Were you one that was driven to sugar, or
oh, without a shadow of a doubt. I had no idea that I was addicted to sugar, and most people possibly don't. They just see it as part of the sort of like everyday thing. But when you think that it's in mustard, it's in ketchup, they I even got caught out a little way into the journey that they put it in bloody bacon,
yeah,
you know, and you're just like, what is that all about, you know? And it is, and that's why it's in there, and it is also why I believe lots of my friends obviously sort of see my success sort of like 3-4 months in, and they were like, oh, what are you doing? Like, tell them what they're doing. And that by that time I was time restricted eating, and I was on 2 meals a day, and you know, I was fasting as well. And you know, when I'm telling somebody, oh, I haven't eaten for 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours, like that, people are just like, I could never do that, you know, because I need to. I'm like, no, that's because you're addicted to sugar.
yeah.
And that is what drives your hunger. It's that addiction. And once you can get that out, and that's why the no snacking is so important.
Well, people
And
are listening to you, and they're probably thinking, okay, I'm addicted to sugar, or I'm driven by carbs and sugar, and snacks are my kind of release point. That's my saving moment. I go to snacks. So, along the journey of making those decisions for yourself, maybe you can give a little bit of strategy or tips for somebody who's just starting out. Somebody may say, okay, completely cold turkey, while someone else says, I can't quite do that. I need a better plan. So maybe you have some things that either that you did that worked, or you did and failed, and you had to redo. But I'm sure there are people wondering, okay, Micheal, this sounds easy for you, but what about me? So maybe share some of that.
well, this is how, all I can say is how it happened to me. And my no snacking ended rather quickly. So I started on the 22nd of April in 2020. And by the end of April, I had made that decision to now not have any snacks. So I once, yeah, and I had that, gonna have to use the word. I had that keto flu, and I personally had it quite badly, you know. And I know other people that, you know, there's not a lot of effect at all. So, you know, please don't let you put that off. You know, put people off by dropping the carbs. But yeah, for me, it that once that 2 weeks was over, that sugar was gone. And but when I was originally snacking, um, in those first that those last few days of April, I went down the route of like a lot of fat, as in that I was having pork belly, and I was crisping that up to within an inch of its life.
Yeah.
That was just a beautiful treat, because if you're coming at it and you're going to be obese, or you're going to be overweight, or you're going to be morbidly obese, you are coming at it from a place of low fat living, where you think, I don't know what it's like over in Canada, in the States, but we can hardly buy a full fat yogurt. You struggle to find a full fat yogurt. Like, there's, so fat is just such an enemy of the state.
Right.
That that's how I've done it. Moved over to crispy bacon, streaky bacon, and then you can crisp it up nice, and pork belly, and that is what I used as a treat, which a snack would have been the treat. Like a bar of chocolate would have been the treat, or ice cream would have been the treat.
So keeping some bacon on hand is
Yes.
a good strategy. I agree. We generally have cooked bacon. We throw it in the freezer, and it takes a mere moment to. I mean, I've eaten it out of the freezer, but but you're right. Switching those gears of the mindset is really important, and so going through those. Now, so a year has passed, actually over a year, because now we're into June. So how do you, I guess some people are going to want to know what happens on days where maybe were you a stressful sugar eater? Was it stress that drove you to sugar, or was it just part of lifestyle? And how do you handle that today?
I just wanted to go sort of step back a bit. One of the other things that I found most important, if you have got that, you've got to go clean. You can't do sweeteners to start off with. All right, so I have introduced sweeteners back now, but not until I had done a whole year. I had done an absolute whole year, and I hadn't done where I'd specifically had any sweeteners. There may have been the occasional thing, like if you were out, and you can't always control everything, because you can't be that bad person that goes, I'm not coming out to eat with you, and because there's nothing I can eat, sort of thing. You have to have a sort of like a little bit. And I feel bad now because I forgot what the question was.
No, I was just asking. I have a brain like that too, so don't worry about it. I was just asking, so were you someone driven to sugar out of stress, or was it just part of lifestyle? And now when those moments come along, like you come out of a shop and someone's dinged your car, my first response is I need to go eat something, and then I'll go sort this out. So how do you handle those moments now? Is it like bacon is the resource? Because I think that's a good option.
Because obviously I don't snack, and I don't want everybody to think, I'm not really sure what the right word is, because nothing has passed these lips outside my eating windows. Maybe I've had an eating window a bit later than I would like, or something, or I may have even added another and had a breakfast as well as a lunch and a tea, but they are meals. And yes, I still do overeat, but my fundamental rule was no snacking, and my second rule was no snacking, and then my third rule was that there are really no other rules. Everything else is only a suggestion. It is really that no snacking which is my driving force, and that I have not broken.
That's
so
amazing.
If something does happen, like somebody, it just doesn't even enter my head now. the thing is, once you get past a certain stage and you've done, say, for instance, 3 months of something, and you have been that strict, that it's like, it's the same as if you used to go to the cinema, you would have your popcorn, you'd have your chocolate, you know, whatever it was, whatever you've done in certain situations, you learned that behavior originally, and you made it a thing. So, oh, every time I do this, I eat this. Oh, every time I go to a friend's house, we have this pizza. You know, everything. So once you break that and you change that for a sort of like a clean, like no snacking in my case, which is, like I say, that really only hard and fast rule, it's there. It doesn't, nothing, you know, people, I go around, like, I've had a lovely privilege over the last month or so. My sister's moved back to our hometown from London with my baby niece and her other half. We went out, they all had ice creams. Like, I looked at them and thought, I used to like those, but didn't even, weren't even a thing. You know, I didn't sit there thinking I'm missing out. I just sipped on my sparkling water, and that was the end of it. The habits can be changed, difficult to start off with.
It's true, and you kind of hit the nail on the head, where we do a lot of talking about changing habits by connecting them to something new, and I think you really exemplify that. You know, watching your journey and seeing how where you are now, it's, you know, has been really encouraging. I tell you on Instagram all the time how encouraging you are to me, and you really are. And I hope one day we all meet in person, because this one-dimensional life, you know, I like relationships, and I know Jeff would love to meet you too. And one day we will. But something that, you know, I always ask in my groups, and how I think was really the thing that connected me to you, Micheal, was my question asking, remember why you started, and what the whole idea behind even needing or wanting to make any of these changes. So maybe as we just wrap up here, and today, you might share what your why is, and why you started, and why you keep at it.
Why I started was because I knew there was a solution. I knew that I wasn't wrong. I knew, even when I was super heavy, morbidly obese, that I was pretty much following what they told us, their advice. But I knew there was, I knew there was an answer. I knew there was an answer to this. And I turned 50 in November, and I just knew that if I carried on the way I was, because our family's got quite good genes, I might still live until I was 70, 80, but I would be living unwell. You know, whether that be just because I was so big, or I'd got away with it. I looked at it as that I'd got away with not having anything major go wrong with my health for all those years, despite my size, and I just knew that I had to do something about it. And when I found that answer of the low carb and, like, you know, fasting, whether that be sort of like just fasting in the sense of not having a snack and you still eat 3 meals a day, that would still be good enough to set you right. Might take you a bit longer than going down the route of doing lots of fasting, as I did in the early days, but it is that fundamental thing of just having those couple of meals a day or one meal a day, depending on sort of where you're at. And yeah, you can do it. That's all I would say to anybody out there. But you do need that focus. And if you can push through those first few months and change your life, because I know that I'm not going back. So I don't, all the other diets I've done, I would sit there and I'd think, can't wait until I get to my gold weight, because then I can have ice cream again. I can have this. Oh yeah, I'm only going to let a little bit of it back in. The truth of the matter is, sometimes you just got to say, that food is never coming back into my life, even when my insulin resistance has gone and everything's perfect. That's it. This is my new life, you know, and that is the bottom line of it. That is it. You know, it's a great way to live. And as I say to lots of people and stuff when I put it on Instagram, research, and you don't need and this isn't a political thing or something. You don't need a government telling you what to do. You don't need the medical profession on their party line telling you what to do. You need to just get out there and have a look at all those other things, and then all the other success that people have had with an N=1 experiment. Because that's why I'm hoping that, like, people see what I have done and they go, well, that's not what you're meant to do according to the powers that be, but it worked for Kirsop. And that's the bottom line. And then obviously,
and it's really important that everyone finds their own thing that works for them. Like you said, this is the way you did it. This is what worked for you, and others can follow in your ideas and your footsteps and have success, where someone else may need to adjust and alter some things along the way. And that's doesn't mean anyone's broken. It just means they need to go a different way. And I think that it's really important that when we look at low carb diets and we look at even intermittent fasting protocols, that we always do what suits us, you know, what we're successful with, because we can get stalled in trying to copy or mimic what someone else has achieved and done in wanting to get there. So it is important that we really focus on what is doable for each person individually, and it really comes down to each person as an individual. There's no one size fits all here. So
most definitely, because I know that I've mentioned him a lot, and I'm not affiliated to him anyway. But Dr. Paul Mason does not advocate intermittent fasting, like, you know. And if I was to just follow what he said, like, and most of the stuff that he says, I do sort of like tend to not follow, because he doesn't give out diets and stuff like that, if you know what I mean. But if I was just to go, oh, this is the bloke that's showing me the light. No, it was him. It was all other people that I've seen on there, you know, because I'm carnivore now, you know, so I'm you know, I'm not like that level 1 where it's just beef and salt, but I am predominantly carnivore.
Yeah.
And so I've just gone on, and that really sits well. That really sits well with me, you know. And so that's, I think, you've just got to come into like the low carb family. That is what you want to do, and from within that low carb family thing, then there's so much you can. There's just so much you can do.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really happy that we had this chance to talk together. Do you have a final word that you might want to leave with our listeners? Just some, I always ask you, because you have some great little nuggets of wisdom. Sometimes they're off the wall and crazy, but they always hit a good target. So
no, you've put me right under.
No, I don't want to put you on the
Pressure.
spot.
Yeah,
Just maybe a
yeah.
final word, just a word of
It
encouragement for
would be.
somebody.
Well, it would be because the main sort of like thing about this was the no snacking. Just really try for that as much as you can, but you don't. It's always another day. So and it's always just one snack. So if it's one snack, you haven't wasted the whole day. Just jump straight back into it. Don't think, oh, I'll have another one because I've blown it, because it's a way of life. So
Right.
just go for it. But yeah, if you cannot snack, your life will be enriched.
Yes, absolutely. Great last word. So thank you so much, Michael, for being here with us today. Um, we'll have a nice conversation with our members where we can maybe field some questions back to Michael, and we will probably launch this in
Yeah,
our
go for
Connect
it.
4 group on July 15th. So if this is July 15th when we post this, that will be a day where we can maybe take some questions from our listeners, and maybe we'll get some comments back from Michael. But in the meantime, is there a way that people can follow your journey, Michael? I know that you have some Instagram, but do you want some followers? Here's your chance.
Yeah. It's I've got me weight loss journey one, which is, I wasn't prepared for that, but I'm
That's
pretty
okay.
sure
We can edit it and put it in later. We can add it
yeah, it's
into
it's
and
Michael, because I've got me Ed the Ball one, which is me personal, but which is pretty much the same anyway. But it is Michael's fasting.
okay, well, it looks like our storm is
Keto
erupting.
life, yes.
I've
And
written that down. I don't know if it fully got recorded. It was choppy in there, Michael, but we will add it in to the video
yeah,
after we've stopped recording, because I know how to get you. So I'm going to
yeah.
say goodbye. I'm going to stop recording, so don't leave. But we'll say goodbye to our listeners.